And we are back to What Did AI Say at VickyL-4AI on YouTube. Thank you so very much for coming back to the podcast. As always, gratitude is the attitude. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's episode number 93. Let's find out what we asked AI, and we will start with ChatGPT's answer. So, what did we ask AI? How much of Project 2025 has been completed? Which actions still remain undone? That's a good one. That is a great one. Okay, so let's do a quick dive into Project 2025. I think that the majority of the people probably know by now. Written by the Heritage Foundation, which is like a coalition of Republican groups or programs or whatever. And it is kind of like a detailed map of how Republican presidents first like 180 days should be when they come into office. And as many of you know who have actually taken an opportunity to kind of look over the proposal, or I think a lot of people refer to it as the blueprint, you will realize that it definitely was meant to take us backwards, not just one step, probably somewhere between 5 and 10 steps as far as our country has progressed, take us backwards. Okay, so let me just repeat the question that we asked AI one more time. How much of Project 2025 has been completed? Which actions still remain undone? ChatGPT's answer: overall progress as of early 2026. There is no single official tracker, but multiple independent analysts' coverage on a similar estimate. 50 to 53% of Project 2025 actions have been implemented or at least initiated. One tracker found 283 of the 532 actions, that's 53%, underway or completed in the first year. Reporting and analysis similarly describe about half of the agenda achieved. Bottom line, roughly half of the blueprint has been put into motion, mostly via executive actions and administrative changes rather than legislation. What has already been implemented? Okay, let's see what we got. Implementation has been uneven but concentrated in areas where a president can act unilaterally, of course. 1. Federal workforce and executive power. Placement of aligned officials across agencies. Personnel is policy. Moves to centralize presidential control over agencies. Changes to federal hiring, firing, and internal guidance. 2. Rolling back DEI and civil rights frameworks. Elimination or weakening of diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs. Removal of federal language around gender identity and equity. Policy changes affecting anti-discrimination enforcement. 3. Gender and LGBTQ policy changes. Federal shift in recognizing only biological sex, male or female, in many contexts. Reduce support for gender affirming care. Attempts to restrict transgender military service. 4. Reproductive policy. Partial progress. Around 40% of proposed restrictions implemented per one tracker. 40% of proposed restrictions implemented per one tracker on reproductive policy. Wow. Changes in federal health, health guidance and agency priorities, education and social policy, expansion of school vouchers, education freedom, pressure on universities and public education systems. We've seen that, and I believe that all of them have taken a knee. Six, foreign policy and federal spending. Uh, yeah, I believe they've all taken a knee at this point. There were some early fighters, but doesn't seem like it anymore. And hey, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But last time I checked, they had all taken a knee. Foreign policy and federal spending. Temporary foreign aid freezes and funding changes. I'm going to be honest. I feel as though we don't need to be giving foreign aid. You know, the prime minister of one of the countries in Africa said that them losing their U.S. aid was the best thing that could have happened for that country. All it is a means of enslavement from us. Now, I don't know what is negotiated with other countries, but from us, it's just a means of enslavement and theft. And I mean, if you have, the leader stating that that was the best thing to happen to them, so be it. But we have our own problems in our country, and our tax dollars really need to be used to get our people, our own American citizens, back on their feet. Okay, let's continue. Temporary, oh, we already said that. Cuts and restructuring in research funding. NIH grant changes. 7, environmental and regulatory rollback. That's a shame. It's a shame. I mean, we already know we have cities in the U.S. that still don't get clean water. They can't get clean water. Expansion of, but yet we're giving aid to another country for them to get clean water, for them to have Planned Parenting and all of that, but we don't have it ourselves. The same with the aid that we give for countries to have universal health care, but we don't have it ourselves. So yeah, that aid can stop until we get ourselves together, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, expansion of oil drilling areas, withdrawal of environmental regulations, the PFA's limits. 8, law enforcement and criminal justice, expansion of death penalty policy priorities, which is a concern because, I mean, we know that the majority of our police force, especially now with ICE, are either racist or have racist ideation or mentalities. So whoever's being put to death, it will more than likely be minority people. Broader, tough on crime directives align with the blueprint. They can commit it and not be persecuted, but anyone else, they're going to be tough. Okay. What remains largely undone or only partially complete? Many of the most ambitious and controversial proposals are still incomplete, often because they require Congress, courts, or long-term restructuring. 1, dismantling or abolishing major agencies. Still most unrealized: Department of Education, the NOAA Weather and Climate Agency, large-scale restructuring of FEMA and other agencies. Now that's the FEMA that Trump takes the money from to go golfing. That FEMA that's supposed to be helping people after natural disasters. That FEMA. So large-scale restructuring of FEMA and other agencies. These require legislation or face major legal barriers. 2, full restructuring of the federal bureaucracy, converting large portions of civil service into political appointees. Wow. Fully implementing Schedule F style control over federal workers. I don't know what that Schedule F is, but that's maybe a deeper dive. Progress, partial but not complete. 3, comprehensive nationwide abortion restrictions. I always have an issue with this, and it's not that I believe that abortion is good or bad, regardless. My issue is you can't uh, not allow people to terminate children that they can't afford and not have programs in place to help them. Child care assistance, health care assistance, education assistance. What are we doing? Okay, federal level bans or sweeping restrictions, uniform national policy. Progress limited with most changes indirect or administrative. 4. Broader family policy and cultural agenda. Large scale federal promotion of religious institutions. Major restructuring of welfare toward faith based systems. Now that's something. Major restructuring of welfare toward faith based systems. Progress minimal so far. Well, thank goodness for that. 5. Full consolidation of presidential control over independent agencies. Targets include the FCC, the FEC, the NLRB, and etc. Progress ongoing but incomplete. 6. Economic and labor system changes. Large scale rollback of labor protections, structural changes to worker rights. Progress mixed with more activity at state level than federal. 7. Long-term structural goals, still largely pending, rewriting how federal data is collected, race, gender, etc. Permanent elimination of DEI infrastructure across all sectors. I know on the federal level, that was not even diverse. It was made for white women and not for brown people whatsoever. So I don't think that that's going to matter. But I do know that in certain states, they did have some DEA policies that forced them to be taken into consideration when it came to being allowed to bid on different projects. And I know what state was that video about. There was a state where they just up and canceled all of the contracts for minority businesses. And those businesses had won those contracts fair and square. They bid it against other companies to provide the services or the product. They won the bid, and then the state canceled all of them. So I think that was a bad move, but right now, you know, if you're not a good person, you're able to do whatever you can to cause suffering to others. So, permanent element. Okay, we already said that. Deep institutional changes that require years, not months. Okay, key takeaway. So this is, I guess, Chatgpt's summary to say. Completed and underway is about 50%, mainly achieved through executive orders, staffing, and regulatory changes. Still pending, the most structural changes, especially those needing Congress, courts, or long timelines. In practical terms, the easy to execute parts, executive control, policy direction, staffing, have advanced quickly, while the hard parts, abolishing agencies, rewriting law, permanent system redesign, remain unfinished and uncertain. Now, ChatGPT says if you want, it can break down the remaining agenda by likelihood, what is most versus what is least likely to actually happen. That might not be a bad deep dive that you can take. That's pretty interesting. Okay. So ChatGPT was pretty good. Let's see what the Chinese AI Deepseek has to say. And please permit me to repeat the question just in case you forgot. How much of Project 2025 has been completed? Which actions still remain undone? Okay, Deepseek's answer. As of early 2026, tracking data indicates that nearly half of the specific policy proposals within Project 2025 have been completed, but some of the most significant changes remain in progress or untouched. Overall progress. Data from different trackers vary slightly, but most point to significant implementation. Project 2025 Observer, as of August 2025, 116 out of 317 objectives were completed. 63 in progress and 138 were not started. Okay, let's read that again. So from the Project 2025 Observer, as of August 2025, that's last year, 116 out of the 317 objectives had been completed. 63 of those 317 were in progress, and 138 were not started at all. Now, Newsweek tracker in December of 2025, this is a few months later than but it's still last year. They say 126 out of 319 objectives were completed and 67 were in progress. Okay, that's interesting. That's like, I guess it's not too big of a discrepancy, but it is a pretty decent discrepancy. Okay, completed actions. Dismantling USA placed the agency under the State Department with major funding cuts. Military and transgender ban. Banned transgender individuals from serving in the U.S. military and halted new gender affirming care treatments. Border and immigration. Massively expanded immigration detention and enforcement. I don't think Chatgpt mentioned the border and immigration, which is a big thing to not mention. Yeah, I don't think it did. Okay, next, federal DEI programs, it did mention this. Eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the federal government. Defunding public broadcasters. Defunded NPR and PBS by instructing the CBP to stop funding. Federal Workforce and Civil Rights issued Schedule F to reclassify 50,000 federal employees for easier firing and scaled back civil rights enforcement. Foreign policy and energy halted billions in foreign aid and fully completed 50% of public land directives. Fast tracking fossil fuels. Okay, remaining actions. Oh, that was quick. Okay, in progress, dismantling the Department of Education and cutting federal contracts for entities deemed to have a woke agenda. The dismantling of the Department of Education, we don't know our history. Our teachers keep posting online that kids can't read. There's all kind of problems. So yeah, we need a new system. So if he's gonna tear this one down, so be it. We need to be ready to build up a better one that is equal to all children and that actually teaches history, because we need to know our history, among other things, but we definitely need to know our history so we don't keep allowing the same mistakes to be repeated. Not started. Weakening USDA regulations on baby formula and requiring schools to give students the military entrance test. What? I think that's crazy. Weakening USDA regulations on baby formula and requiring schools to give students the military entrance test. Okay, first of all, they don't want you to kill the babies, but they're okay with them being made sick by compromised formula. What are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, let's continue. Notable failure. The attempt to abolish NOAA, which has so far stalled. Thank goodness. Thank goodness, because no one ever wants to talk about NOAA, but it's where we find out or get some kind of alert before actual natural disasters happen. Yeah, I think that's right. But the buoys in the ocean, yeah, it That's how we track hurricanes and the weather. It's like I think it's pretty important. Hey, if you don't care about kids' health by lackening the control of what goes in baby formula, you don't care about protecting people from natural disasters either. So there you have it. Okay. Let's. I think this is Deepseek's summary here. Project 2025 remains a dynamic policy agenda with notable achievements in its first year, though many of its most transformative proposals have not yet been fully realized. Now, DeepSeek says if you like to know more about a specific policy, feel free to ask. Okay, again, DeepSeek really didn't really thrill me there. But they did have the one point that Chatgpt did not about the border patrol and immigration. So got that. Okay, so how does any of this information affect our daily lives? Well, many people who knew about Project 2025 and took an opportunity to glance over it already, such as myself, we already knew that what was coming. So uh, does it help a democratic government and country? Absolutely not. But as we all know, the U.S. is quickly falling into authoritarianism. And does it help that type of government? Absolutely. So, I mean, if we don't want these things to come to pass, then we need to formulate a plan like they did and call it whatever you want. But that's the one thing that I can say about these people, these racist, uh, inequality people, is that they have a plan and they are going through it step by step. And those of us who respect others and love the freedom that our country once had, we don't have a plan and we desperately need one. So I think that I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let you do your research and come to your own conclusions. Let's go ahead and move on to our positive saying for today. And I actually hope it's positive. And I hope I didn't lose my page, did I? I may have lost my page. Give me just a minute. Is that it? Nope. Gotta have a positive saying. And this was a good one too. I think it was by someone by the name of France something. Oh, here. Okay, let's do this one. This is one that I didn't select, but I think it's very interesting. I don't know who said it. Where's my magnifying glass? Here we go. Okay. When you show force, it is a signal of a decline in power. That rings familiar, doesn't it? Let's repeat that. And like I said, I have no idea who said it. When you show force, it is a signal of a decline in power. Okay. There you have it. That was not, still a little long. Okay. So we learned a little bit more about what is still yet to come with Project 2025. And look, none of this happens if we don't comply. Nothing happens if we don't comply. So that's the key. Thank you so very much for giving me a little over 25 minutes of your time. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. We the people have the power. See you next episode. Peace.